Hi, friends. I am so glad that you are here today. It's going to look a little different because I spent about 20 to 30 minutes just completely looking at some of the back end tech stuff. And so the answer was to just go ahead and record it and then I'll upload it. So hopefully you find this video helpful. It would have been a lot more fun if we had in person where we actually had people who could be interactive with it, but that's okay. That's okay. We're going to just do what we can. Check one thing before we get started. Okay. Just making sure that I'm being as awesome as possible. Okay. So, welcome to Expert Sessions. This is Story as a Strategy, and this is in partnership with my wonderful friend Tanya from Modern Business Mastery. This work lives inside the Modern Business Mastery ecosystem where entrepreneurs are supported beyond just tactics. With clarity, alignment, sustainable growth, guys, there are some amazing things happening, and I want to make sure that you know what it is and you see what's happening, because I will tell you that this is the one place on the internet where I have just been blown away by the level of support that you get. My name is Kelly Harris. You can't really see that because I've got pictures, but here you go. Will move me for a second. My name is Kelly Harris, and here's the thing, guys. I'm going to mess with this just a little bit. I am not just another copywriter. I'm actually not even a copywriter anymore. I am a connector, a storyteller, a marketer, a business growth strategist. I juggle a million priorities because here's the truth. I've been there. I've seen it. I've done all the things. I'm based in Oklahoma. I'm a mom of four. Currently, I'm a mom of four little humans. I'm a mom of two dogs and one cat. So we are pretty busy around here. It is my mission to help solopreneurs, especially especially coaches and course creators, basically create messaging that moves the needle. We're going to use your stories, your lived experiences to actually move the needle in your business. We're still kind of working this out a little bit. Some of the kinks. That's just what we do, guys. It's all good. I would love to invite you to join the newsletter. Honestly, any of these resources is absolutely incredible. It's 100% worth your time to just take a little bit of time. Join the newsletter for Modern Business Mastery, get a free strategy building session, connect on LinkedIn, or download the Goals to Game plan. If this is too difficult, because I know sometimes QR codes are a little finicky, here are the links for the exact same thing. You can get a free strategy session. You can connect on LinkedIn for Modern Business Mastery with Tanya MFK. She's absolutely incredible, absolutely wonderful. All right, but what are we talking about today? Here is the thing. I'm going to do this again because this poor little screen just cannot seem to decide what we're trying to do. So let's talk about it. Every other month, I do a copy clinic where we talk about your copy. We talk about all those things. We talk about messaging, marketing, all of the things, right? And here's what I want to say. What we're talking about today, what we are talking about today sounds really simple, but it's actually a really important business move. How do we introduce ourselves when our businesses change? When we are stepping into thought leadership, what does that look like? What should it look like, right? So let's talk about it. Today is not about becoming louder for the sake of being louder. It is about becoming clearer about what you see, what you believe, and what you're willing to say out loud to potential customers, to people watching, to everyone. A lot of smart women are already doing thought leadership. It is literally showing up. I'm seeing it everywhere. They're spotting patterns, they're challenging assumptions, and they're helping people make better decisions. I'm going to make my box a little tiny smaller so you can actually see this. Okay, cool. They're simply not naming it that way yet. So by the end of our time together today, I want you to have one story-led thought leadership message that you can put in a post, You can put it in a podcast pitch, a speaking topic, or even just a sales conversation. So the question today is, your voice is not the finishing touch. It is the strategy. Do you want to be bold? Is that true? You want it to be bold, you want it to be true, and you want it to be distinctly you. Sorry, I apparently need glasses because I feel like it's getting smaller. So, but before we talk about the mic, let's name what gets in the way. What are the stories that we are telling ourselves that are causing us to have some pushback on how we are showing up, right? How we are showing up as thought leaders. This is actually a lot easier than you think it is. Your brain is going to tell you a couple of things. So let me back up. Trying to look around to see if I can find something. I used to have a little stuffed brain, but let's pretend that this is your brain, okay? I know we've got there's a ton of research behind this, but stick with me, guys. So our brains are wired for two things. They're wired for story, and they are wired for survival. The same brain that 2,000 years ago kept us from lions and tigers eating us and kept us alive is the same brain that now shows up when we start to step into the person that we're supposed to be and the thought leader that we're supposed to be showing up as, and says, whoa, there is danger there. And we have to lovingly address the stories that are in our heads, right? Pardon me, y'all. I'm from Oklahoma and the allergies are just wild right now. So, what are some things that get in the way? You tell yourself that you need more proof. But here's the thing, you already have enough experience. You do, my friend. You need a clearer point of view. You need to look at this experience and ask you what it is telling you so that you can show up as the best version of yourself. We take those lived experiences and we say things like, I don't want to sound arrogant, because you've had an experience with someone who is a know-it-all, who sounds like they know everything. Let me be clear. Authority and arrogance are not the same thing. Not even close. And you fear that somebody's already said it. It's true. Somebody has already said what you're going to say. However, no one has said it through your lens, your experience, and with your language. Okay? So now that we've addressed that, let's take it further. Thought leadership gets overcomplicated. We're not performing intelligence, you guys. All we're doing is we are having a willingness to make meaning to what you have seen. When you name a pattern your audience has felt but couldn't articulate, they feel understood. When you explain why it matters, they trust your strategic thinking. And when you show them a way forward that they hadn't considered, they begin to see you as someone who can lead them, as someone who has crossed the bridge and can lead them across the bridge. You do not need to have only one answer. You need to contribute a clear and thoughtful and useful answer. A lot of people think thought leadership is sounding important. If I get asked to speak, I have to know everything and I have to have a unique perspective. Yeah, you do. But it's as simple as naming what you see, explaining why it matters, and offering a point of view that's your point of view. And being able to back up why you believe that. And then giving people a new way to think, decide, or to move forward. So let's talk about story. You know me. I love story. Story's not the whole message. It's the bridge between personal storytelling and thought leadership. A story gives us the moment. Meaning tells us why that moment belongs in this conversation. Position is the belief or the perspective that you are willing to claim and be okay with when people challenge you. And movement is what you want the audience to reconsider or do next. That's a lot. So many people stop using story because they feel like it's not enough. They want to tell us what happened, but they actually don't want to assign meaning to that moment. They never tell us what it taught them, what they learned. Other people skip story completely and they go straight from strategic to advice. Here's how you have to do. The problem with that is we are in an age of information. You can get a ton of information very, very quickly. And so if you're skipping the story, if you are skipping the story and going straight to advice, it's going to come off one of two ways. It's going to come off as generic advice, or it's going to come off as very preachy. And then that arrogance comes in. The truth is that we need both. So you have the story of what happened, the meaning, what did it reveal to you? The position, what do you believe now that you didn't believe before this happened? And the movement, what should change? It's a lot. Story is evidence that your message that makes your message believable. Like I said earlier, our brains are wired for story, guys. They are absolutely 100% wired for it. Oral language is thousands. And when I say thousands, I'm talking like 10 to 20 to 30 or more 1,000 years older than written language. Our brains are wired for story. People often sit down and they try to manufacture a profound thought leadership. It's not going to work because that's usually where the voice disappears. So, like we talked about, the microphone is in the moment. You have to start smaller than the big idea. For example, a client said something you couldn't stop thinking about. You notice the same problem 3 other times because now it's in your radar and it's in your receptive system in your brain, and you're noticing it. And you changed your mind about a common business practice because of it. Or a small decision produced a surprisingly important result. These are all moments that if we pay attention, this thought leadership truly is everywhere. So imagine that you pay attention to the moments that create small moments of friction, curiosity, surprise, or even clarity. The moment is often already carrying the message already. Your job is to ask, why did this stay with me? That's interesting. I wonder if, I wonder about. What does this show me about the work I do, the industry I'm in, the audience I'm serving, or the way that we've been taught to just do things because that is the traditional way or the historic way of doing these things? I'm going to teach you a very simple message structure. That is not helpful. Let me fix this really quickly because you can't see what it says. So we're just going to pop in here and fix this super fast. Okay. All right. Cool. Woo-hoo, we can see it now. Awesome. I'm calling this the mic structure because we're claiming the mic. We are claiming the mic and our thought leadership with it's uniquely ours. But it's also simple enough to use in real life, right? So the moment, I like the MESS framework, the moment, emotion, share, and shift. The moment, that's our M. What happened or what you noticed, okay? The I, the interpretation. Tell me, tell your audience, tell whoever it is, what you think it reveals. And then C, tell why you believe, what you believe now and why it matters. That why it matters is huge. Your claim doesn't have to be controversial. It just needs to be specific enough that your audience recognizes this as your point of view, right? Let's have a few more conversations. Here is some very simple points of view. One is very generic. The other one is more story-led. So let's look at the generic moment first, this dark green one. The left side's not wrong. It is simply hard to own because anybody could say it, right? It says consistency is important to marketing. Keep showing up even when it's hard. Advice, literally anyone could say, right? Let's look at the story-led side, the light green. I kept calling my inconsistency a discipline problem. It was actually a decision problem. I had not decided what I wanted to be known for, so every post required me to reinvent my business. right side begins with an honest story, right? But it doesn't stay there. And we're not trauma dumping. It just turns out that the story into a diagnosis. This issue is not discipline, it's decision. And then it shows why decision matters. And this is how your content starts to sound like you instead of starting to sound like advice assembled from the internet. And the difference here, like I said, is advice anybody could say and specific advice and a useful reframe. All right, so now this is going to be your turn. I'm going to give you the parameters, and then I am going to give you some very specific instructions since we are in a little bit of a unique situation with this, right? So what's going to happen is if we were on the call live, I would give us 8 minutes to work through this. I would set a timer. I would tell you to go. We're going to go. Here is what I want you to do instead. Take out our handy dandy phone, set an 8-minute timer on it, and then I'm going to explain this. And then I will say go. I want you to hit start on your timer and pause the video and work through this. And then when you're ready, you can unpause the video. And I will leave a little 15 to 30 second just gap in the middle. And I'm going to assume that you're actually going to take the time to do it in this moment, because you're getting the gift of 8 minutes to start to really dig into your thought leadership. 8 minutes doesn't sound like a lot. And you got to start somewhere, right? All right, so here are my parameters. I want to encourage you to choose something real or recent that has happened to you rather than try to find the most dramatic story that you've ever lived. I want to tell you you're not writing the final post. You're building the bones of your message. And then at the 4-minute mark, that's half your time. So move on to the next part and name the larger pattern that you see. And then at the very end, at the 8-minute mark, I want you to underline the sentence that feels most like the claim that you are willing and ready to share with others. Okay? So we're going to build the message. What happened? What did you notice, feel, question, realize? This can be words. This could be snippets. You're just trying to capture that feeling. In that moment, I was frustrated. In that moment, I had clients coming out the woodwork for me. What larger pattern does this reveal? Do I see this other places? Am I addressing this more than once a week? And then what do you want your audience to reconsider or do with this story? You've given them the story of something that happened to you. You've talked about the emotion and the shift that you've had. And now what do they do with that? Are you giving them something tangible to do? Are you giving them advice? Are you just giving them something practical? And we're not asking, is this impressive? We're looking to say, is this true, useful, and actually mine to say and share? Now, like I said, I told you I'd give you the 8 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell you to pause the video, take your 8 minutes, and see just what comes out. Okay, we are going to move on. So I'm going to assume that you paused the video and you are now back and joining us. So we're going to make it sound like a person and not a content machine. Okay, we're going to cut the things that are very AI generated, they're hooks, but they're very overused and they're very, you'll know if they sound like you or not. That's what I'm going to say. So we're going to cut things like, in today's fast-paced world, and start at the actual moment. Cut something like, here are 3 powerful tips. use the sentence you'd say out loud. Pretend you're talking to your best friend over coffee about your business. You're going to avoid things like, it's important to remember, or unlock your full potential. And you're going to focus on concrete details over polished abstraction. We're keeping it simple. And we're going to let one idea carry the message, right? You don't need to avoid the tools. You don't need to protect the details, the rhythms, the opinions, and phrases that make the message sound lived in. You draft your message out loud. You circle a sentence you would never actually say. Replace it with a sentence that you would actually say to a smart friend across the table. And it's okay to have AI help you think through ideas. It's okay to have it say, like, what stories have I told you? What inferences are there? Because sometimes you forget that you told it a story. You're like, oh yeah, okay, that might be something that I'm comfortable sharing. All right, so one message, 4 places to use it. You can use it online now that you've got your thought leadership. So here's the thing. Thought leadership is not a content burden. One clear message can travel. A social post may tell the story. A podcast pitch can name the conversation and the perspective that you're bringing to the table. A speaking topic can turn the claim into an audience outcome. And a sales conversation can show how your way of seeing the problem affects the solution. And it affects the bottom line for your clients being able to experience success. The message stays the same. The doorway changes. All right, so feedback that strengthens the voice. I was raised in some leadership things that say that feedback is a gift. And when we give feedback, the goal is not to make the message sound like us. The goal is to help the person hear where their voice is the strongest. So ask listeners to identify what is alive, clear, compelling, specific for them, and then ask where the message drifted into too broad. Here's what I have found, and it's something I absolutely love to do. This is my little tip for those of you learning market research and wanting to know more about thought leadership and what your people actually want to know. It's a revolutionary idea, but it's one I highly recommend. Ask them. Ask them. Not just what sentence, like these are great questions. What sentence feels most alive? Where did you understand the point of view? Where did the message become too vague or generic? What do you want to hear more about? And what is your clearest claim you heard? But ask them more. Ask them, when you think of me, what 2 words come to mind? Ask them, what do you want to hear more about from me? People will tell you, and what's really interesting, is if you can get people to start talking about it and to start telling you, what's working for them, what's not working for them, what they're really struggling with. If you write those things down word for word, and then you put them in like a Google Doc and you just talk to people and you keep collecting that information, eventually you have enough data that you can look at the data and say, what are the reoccurring themes? What are the things that I'm hearing over and over again? What are people hearing that I stand for over and over again? Because what ends up happening is you can use that stuff in all of your marketing, in all of your sales conversations, and this really fascinating thing happens. What happens is that people say, how did you know that is exactly the problem I'm having? And that's exactly how I would talk about the problem that I'm having. How did you know that that's how I'm feeling? You don't tell them because you told me and I listen. You tell them, it's because this is the feedback that I'm getting. This is how I'm helping people. This is what they're needing more support in. Right? The final question here, what is the clearest claim you heard, is one of the more important questions, because sometimes the audience hears the actual message before the speaker fully claims it, right? So claim the mic. This week, share one message that is true enough to stand behind, clear enough to remember, and useful enough to move someone, to get them to take some form of action. You don't have to be the loudest voice. You just have to stop hiding behind the one you already have. And then if you have any questions or concerns or anything like that, I would absolutely love for you to put that in the comments below, or you can reach out to me and connect on Facebook or Instagram, or even my website, www.kelly with a Y, so kellyharriscreative.com. And then the last slide did not get stuck. So anyway, if you are needing help with your messaging and your marketing, or you just want some more to know what stories you need to be sharing, I would love to invite you to a marketing momentum call or a MVP session, which is messaging, visibility, and positioning, to help move your business forward and that you can show up very, very confident and make more sales and more money. All right, until next time. Bye, guys.